the chat if you can hear and see me correctly. Sometimes I've had issues with the video lagging or something like that. If I sound too loud for you, I do have a speaker here so you can hear me better. If it's too loud, just put your volume down. That's the only thing I could do at this moment to adjust it. So anyways, today is a live class. I try to do one, at least one a month at minimum, and they're kind of random. It just depends on my schedule, what I'm doing in the garden, if there's something that I'm doing that I can teach you guys on. So the best way to find out about them is to join my email group, because I send out an email of, you know, the next upcoming classes and that kind of thing. If someone could just let me know in the comments if you can hear and see me correctly. Still waiting just to get that confirmation from you guys. But anyways, today I wanted to show you guys how to plant garlic and onions. So that's kind of the topic of today's class, because that is exactly what I'm doing right now, or starting this week basically. So thank you so much, Linda, for letting me know that you guys can hear me well. All right, so just a few reminders before we get into today's class. Right now I am a seed and plant nursery. My website is jarasgarden.com. And I am selling bundles of short day onions. So if you are in an area where you are supposed to plant short day onions, right now is when you're planting them, basically November and December. So if you need some, I have 3 different varieties, or you can get all 3 at a discount for, it's called a trio pack. So if you need some, order them as soon as you can. Tomorrow's actually the last day to order them with me. And then I close the whole thing down, because then we order them, pack them, ship them out. It's a lot of work. So I kind of had like an ordering window open for a couple of weeks just to get everyone's orders together so we could do it all at once. It's just me and my assistant packing everything, and there's a lot. So we just prefer to like get it all done at one time. So tomorrow's the absolute last day to submit your order, and then we will start the whole process this week, and I'm hoping to have everything shipped out no later than November 26th. So that's still in time for planting your short day onions. So yeah, pre-sale for short day onions ends tomorrow, and I have links in the description that'll take you to the website for all of that, whatever, so you guys can get all the info that you need. I do not have long day onion or intermediate day onions if that's what you need to grow. I am in Florida, so I specialize in crops and things for like hot climate gardeners. So if you're in the south portions of the United States, you're going to be planting the short day onions right now, November and December. If you are in the middle of the country, you would be planting intermediate day. If you're more north, you're planting long day, and there's a whole reason for that. I can get real detailed on it, but I'm not going to. Look up, search Google for a short day onion map or something that will show you like where you fall into. Very, very important that you plant the correct variety for your area. As we go through this class, I will also stop periodically to check your questions and answer them in the chat. Sometimes there's a lot and I can't keep up with it. I'm just being honest with you guys. I'll try my best, but I'm also trying to make sure that I complete this class. I have a whole class planned out for you guys. So if I miss your question, I promise I'm not ignoring you. It's just, it's too much sometimes. So please feel free to send me an email, info@jarasgarden.com, and then I'll get back to you, I promise. But anyways, if you ask a question, please put your state and growing zone so I can answer better according to where you're located. All right, so yeah, short day onion bundles, the last day to order is tomorrow. I also just posted a YouTube video that shows the whole process on how to plant onions. It doesn't matter if you're planting the short day, long day, whatever. The planting process is still the same. It's just the timing and the variety is different. So if you're watching me from a state up north and it's released right now for you guys, this still applies to you. The way to plant garlic and to plant onions is still the same. It's just the variety and the time of year that you're planting it will be different. But anyways, if you just want to like recap and watch the whole process specifically on how to plant the onions from transplants, I just posted that video a couple days ago. I think it was Wednesday. A couple days ago. So yeah, if you're planting short day onions, please watch a video or something like that and have the planting area prepped and ready to go before they're delivered, because they're bare roots. They will not last very long without being planted, just a couple of days. They'll dry out, they'll die, all this kind of stuff. So please have your planting areas ready to go, so as soon as you get them, you can put them right into the ground. I would say that's probably the number one mistake that most people report to me is maybe you're planning on planting your onions in a green stock garden tower, which totally works great. I do both. So in a tower and in ground. And your tower hasn't arrived yet in the mail. You need to really think about that, because again, your live transplants will not last very long without being planted and in soil. So yeah, that's probably the number one thing. Also, if you're looking for more ideas on what you can plant right now in November, I do a monthly garden guide every single month. And I have sections according to if you're a hot climate gardener like me, or if you're a cold climate, like whatever is going on. So go check out the November garden guide, which is also just posted on my channel. And I also do the following week, a kind of like a monthly garden task tips, reminders, project ideas, kind of things maybe you should think about to keep your garden steady, going, thriving. Both of those videos for the month of November have been posted. All right, and then also I do have a seed subscription club where it's a seasonal thing, so I pick a certain collection of seeds. It's different every time that will be best for the upcoming season. So this works for you no matter where you're located as well. You don't have to be in Florida like me, none of that. It's according to season. And the deadline to join, if you haven't joined already, is December 1st, so that you're included in the next delivery, which goes out December 20th, and that's for the spring 2026 like growing seed pack, so to speak. We ship one season ahead because, again, depending on where you're located, you might be starting your seeds right away, or maybe you need to wait a little bit. It depends. So that allows time for everyone to make the appropriate adjustments and plant things at the right time. Every single delivery comes with the seeds. It comes with detailed instructions on how to calculate the correct planting time for you. There's a private class for everyone to kind of review everything and answer questions. And there's a private Facebook group. So that's been really fun for me. It's kind of like my own little community, and people post questions, pictures, all this stuff. It's really helpful. I try to answer like all of that stuff in there, and a lot of times other people jump in too, which is really cool. So all of that is with the seed subscription. Deadline to join is December 1st, and there's links in the description too. And if you didn't know, I also have a second YouTube channel called Jera's Fresh Kitchen, where I post like recipes and stuff. A lot of it is using ingredients from my garden. So if you, especially the weird stuff that not many people know about. So if you need recipe ideas or even some do-it-yourself projects, made products like body scrubs and stuff like that, I post it all in there too. So anyways, that's it for reminders. Let's jump into the class. Let me look at the chat really quick. I'm so happy to hear that a lot of you have your garlic vernalizing. That's also like one of the most common mistakes that I feel like they just don't know. So that's like super necessary if you're growing garlic in a hot climate. So I'm definitely going to be talking about that. But anyways, I'm also going to be talking about amendments. So don't worry, MKP, I do see your question about the amendments. I'm going to talk about both the soil and ideal growing conditions and all that for the garlic and onions. But let's get started with garlic first, okay? So when should you be planting your seed garlic? So seed garlic, I'll show you the garlic that I bought here. I do not sell garlic, seed garlic. I want to, but it's very hard finding a supplier for that. So if I do one day, then I buy them from different websites. I pretty much probably bought it from any website that is out there at this point. But I bought from Baker Creek. I've bought from Keen Garlic is a really popular one. And who's the other one I bought this year? TheGarlicStore.com. I also bought. It just depends who had the varieties I was looking for. So, yeah, seed garlic. Why do we call this seed garlic? You could go to the store and buy a garlic bulb and separate the cloves and plant it. However, most likely you're not going to know what variety it is, which is super important. Just like the onions, garlic is categorized into specific categories. If you're in a cold climate, most likely you need to plant hardneck garlic. If you're in a warm climate, hot climate, you're supposed to plant softneck garlic. So the hardnecks, they have like a center stem in the middle that's really woody and tough, where all the cloves kind of like attach to, but the softneck don't have that. So the reason why that's good for a cold climate gardener is because if you get snow and like all this extreme temperature and stuff, that hard center stem kind of protects the whole bulb and the cloves and everything, and it just endures and thrives much better in a colder climate than a hot climate. However, I do grow hardneck garlic here in my Florida garden, which a lot of people will tell you don't do that. But I've experimented, and the variety I used for that, and it was the best one I've ever grown. So I don't know. Try different varieties. This year I'm trying, I don't know, 5 or 6 different. I'll show you guys what I have here. Just trying to find like who likes to grow best in your garden. But anyways, if you are in a cold climate, you're going to plant your garlic 6 weeks before your last spring frost date. So that's more like next year, right? If you're in a hot climate, garlic doesn't like the heat. So we grow this kind of the opposite. We plant it in fall, so it grows through winter, and then we harvest it usually like in late spring. So last year, I'm duplicating what I did because I had the best garlic harvest ever. Last year, I planted, I think it was like early December or the very end of November, and I was harvesting by April, just to give you an idea. They do take a long time. You're looking at 5-6 months, and it varies a little bit depending on variety. But anyways, so if you go to the grocery store and you buy a bulb, you're probably not going to know what variety it is. To check, let me move this down a little bit so I could just sit on the floor. To check if it's a hard neck or a soft neck. That's really important to know. And it's not official seed garlic that was grown and is certified disease free. So that's really important to me because I'm in Florida. I already deal with like the most diseases and stuff and issues, especially with things, pests and diseases in the soil. So I personally don't like to risk putting something in that I don't know if it's carrying a disease or something. So I always go buy fresh, new seed garlic every year. You can obviously plant, harvest, and save some for planting next year. But again, I don't know if I'm carrying diseases from one, from my own into my next succession planting of it or whatever, my next year's planting. So I just prefer to start fresh every year. That's me though, but that's why. So yeah, if you are a cold climate gardener, you're going to plant it 6 weeks before your last spring frost date. If you're a hot climate gardener, and what I mean by hot climate gardener, if you're in an area that doesn't get snow and you don't have hard freezes, if your ground doesn't freeze, I'm going to call you a hot climate gardener. And you should be planting your garlic now, December and November and December, pretty much. Okay, so when to order your seed garlic, if you're going the seed garlic route, you need to get some. That can be real hard for us hot climate gardeners because the stores here or around me, they don't sell this stuff until, I mean, normally I see it in the stores like, oh, here's my dog Teddy, and I apologize if he cries. He's very needy, okay? And he gets really jealous that I'm talking to you guys and not him. But anyways, Teddy, sit. Oh, sorry, bud. Sorry, but you gotta sit. Anyways, I don't see them in the stores until like January and February, and that's too late for us. So I go online and buy mine, and I order it usually like in August or September so that it's delivered right away. And then I vernalize it all the way up until it's time for me to plant them, like November, December. So that's like 3-4 months of vernalizing. And so the process of vernalizing is absolutely necessary if you are gardening in the South or hot climate. Teddy, you need to sit. You need to sit. I'm doing a class. Come on. He'll come and go. Anyways, so why do we have to vernalize? If you're in a hot climate, well, let me start with this first. Garlic requires a certain period of exposure to cold temperatures. I think it's below like 40 degrees Fahrenheit. In order for it to know, like, I've gone through winter. I've gone through winter now. Okay, of course he wants to sit like right in front. Anyways, I've gone through winter, and then it's cold, and then it feels warm when you take it out of the fridge, right? Now it's being exposed to warm temperature, and that lets it know, like, oh, it's springtime, it's time for me to start growing. So if it doesn't experience that period of cold, it's confused, it's not going to grow properly, it's not going to bulb up properly, all this stuff. So vernalization is really important, where you are basically tricking your garlic into thinking it went through a cold winter. If you're up north, you don't have to worry about this, because you do get a cold winter, and when you plant it outside, it will be exposed to the required cold temperatures that it needs for the period of time that it needs. But if you're in the south, we just don't get that. So you have to do it yourself. Put it in the fridge 3 or 4 months, ideally. The longer the better, in my opinion. So I've ordered my seed garlic way back in like August or something. It was delivered to me like in September, and I immediately put it in the fridge. And it's been vernalizing for months and months and months. So it's ready to go. If your garlic, somebody sent me an email and they were saying like, hey, I'm doing this, but my garlic has started sprouting in the fridge. Plant it. If it started sprouting, plant it. Luckily, none of mine have started sprouting, and they're not like dried out. That's another issue if they like dry out. I've kept them in the brown paper bags that they arrived in when they were delivered to me, which is what you should do. Put them in a brown paper bag and stick them in like your crisper drawer or whatever. Ruth is asking if 2 months is long enough to vernalize. Some vernalization is better than no vernalization. I would still plant it, see what happens. But I find that I get the best harvest the longer, like 3-4 months even, if you can. Sorry, I'm reading the comments on my phone. Maria brought up a very good idea, detail that plastic bags hold moisture and garlic can mold and rot. Absolutely, so don't use a plastic bag. That's why we use the brown paper bags. But yeah, they've been in there for months in the brown paper bags. Not one shows signs of sprouting or anything, which is great. So anyways, we talked about vernalization. I'm also planting elephant garlic, which grows a lot better than hard or softneck garlic in warmer climates. This is actually more related to leeks than it is actual garlic. But I like to also use elephant garlic. If you've struggled to grow traditional hard or softneck garlics, maybe just try elephant garlic. It's much easier. Yes, the flavor is more mild, but it still tastes like garlic, so I enjoy it either way. But anyways, if you're planting elephant garlic, you don't need to vernalize. You don't need to do none of that stuff. So let's say you really want to grow some garlic, but you didn't order your seed garlic yet, and you definitely don't have time to vernalize right now. Like if you want to plant something right now, then just get some elephant garlic. You can still do that. So you get something in. But anyways, yeah, so I'm planting a whole bunch of stuff. And let me show you guys real quick the varieties that I'm planting. So for warm or hot climate gardeners, the number one like recommended variety is called Enchilium Red, and it's a softneck variety. And yeah, people have success with that one. I personally have not. I don't know why. Sometimes things will grow great in someone's garden and not in mine, and vice versa. There's a million reasons why. But every time I've planted it, I really have not. I mean, it'll grow, but they're small, and it's just, to me, not worth it. I'm not saying that it might not work for someone else. It could work for my neighbor, not me. I don't know. It could be just me. But Enchilium Red is said to be a very good variety, dependable for the South, okay? And it's a softneck variety. And then you have your elephant garlic here. I got this one from Keen Garlic, just a little pack, because that will produce a lot. Each one of these cloves, when you separate them, will grow into its own bulb. So that's a lot. That's plenty for me. Last year, in my history of growing garlic, the best one that ever produced for me was one called Vietnamese Purple, which is a hardneck. And that was the best one that produced for me ever so far. I got that one from Baker Creek last year, but they don't sell it anymore. It's not even, you can't even find it on their website, which is very disappointing. So in my research of trying to find it from somewhere else, I came across info that it also goes by the name Deerfield Purple. So I got a bag of Deerfield Purple. This one I think came from thegarlicstore.com. No. This is Keen Garlic. This is definitely, let me see if pretty sure it's Keen Garlic. But anyways, Deerfield Purple, Vietnamese Purple. Did excellent for me. Like the first time I was able to like harvest, and they were nice, big, looked just like garlic I bought at the grocery store. So I'm definitely planting that one again this year. Hold on, guys. Looking at my chat, or trying to. I can see you guys are. I do it on a second phone because it's just easier to see it than pointing and having to tap that phone in front of me. Oh. Or there's a delay? No? Okay, I'm actually caught up. Okay, never mind. All right. Since I had so much success with Vietnamese red, I was like, well, what other ones are there? The garlicstore.com or Keen, I don't know. This isn't labeled which company sent this to me. I don't know which one. But they had a bunch of Korean ones, all right? And I personally love to grow stuff from Korea, from Vietnam, from Southeast Asia, like all this stuff, because it tends to always grow really well here in Florida, since I'm a tropical climate. So when I saw that they had these Korean ones, I grabbed both. They had a Korean purple. Oh, this actually came from thegarlicstore.com. I said it on this one. So I got Korean purple and Korean red. I'm gonna try them both. And then I got also from thegarlicstore.com Transylvanian, because it just sounded really cool. Really big, huge bulbs and stuff like that. Amateurs early. So I wanted to try it. Always experiment, guys. I guess you'll have your favorites and things that you've grown before and have done well. But try and throw like one new variety of something in there and just test. You might be pleasantly surprised. It might do better than what you're used to. So that's why I have so many here. And then the last one here is Vietnamese red. So I didn't find Vietnamese purple outright. I found Deerfield purple. So they're supposed to be the same. But then Keen Garlic also had Vietnamese red. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely try that one. So those are the varieties that I have this year. They are a mix of both soft and hardneck. They've all been vernalizing since September in my fridge. So about a good solid 3 months, going on 4 months. And yeah, that's what I have to plant. Now let's talk about where site selection, like where's the best spot to be growing garlic. Garlic and onions both require full sun, even in Florida. It take Florida full sun, okay? These are bulb crops. A lot of people like to say they're root crops. I don't like to categorize them with root crops because they're a little bit different than your standard root crops, like carrots and stuff like that. And they're different. Trust me, and I'll get to it. But I like to call them bulbing crops. So they're going to form some big bulb. And to form that needs a lot of energy. Like this plant needs to collect a lot of energy, sunlight, all nutrients, all of that stuff to be able to output a nice big bulb. So full sun, you need full sun so those leaves will capture as much sun energy as possible to form those nice big bulbs, even in Florida, even in hot climates. So pick a full sun spot. I'll show you real quick my planting area. It's in front of me here. And you'll see more of it as I show you how to plant stuff. But I've already got drip irrigation lines. I have 4 rows here. I used a drip irrigation flat drip tape that is 6 inches spacing apart, which is perfect for planting garlic and onions. 6 inch spacing with the emitters that are already like built in. And as you can see, there's like some weeds and like plants that have reseeded in here that I need to clean out, which I will do. I'm just going to lift my drip real quick, and I take this tool right here. I forget what you call this, a weed hoe or something. This is like the easiest tool to weed stuff, in my opinion. So I just take this, rake up the ground. It pulls out all the little weeds. And usually I'll throw like my amendments over the soil too while I do that. So it just kind of works that in. It fluffs the soil up a little bit for me before planting. So that's the game plan with that. So both onions and garlic really hate weeds. They hate them. I would say most plants don't care if there's something like growing around it or whatever for the most part. But onions and garlic, your harvest, your crops will be affected if there's a bunch of weeds blocking out sunlight or taking nutrients from the soil. They are sensitive, I feel, anyways. If I didn't keep up with the weeding and keeping the area nice and clean, I definitely had like a lesser harvest. So very, very important that you weed and just keep it low. Right now I have like, it's kind of hard to explain. I took a whole bunch of seeds and mixed it in a bowl of things that are short, and kind of using it like a cover crop. And so I put like petite dwarf marigolds, some loose leaf lettuces, chamomile, dill, cilantro, Japanese buckwheat, alyssum, like a bunch of things that kind of stay on the short side. And I broadcasted it, and I absolutely love that. That worked out really well. It brought in tons of bees into the garden. They went everywhere else. It's staying low, like about this big. So that's what you guys see here when I showed like all these little weeds and stuff is actually a lot of and lettuces and just things that are popping up. So I don't know if I want to leave it and just kind of keep the area around like where the garlic bulb sprouted and is growing. I don't know. I'll have to see if it gets too crazy out of control. But ideally you want it clean, and you'll mulch very well to suppress all the weeds for the entire duration of growing your garlic and onions. Some good companion plants with it. Honestly, strawberries is a really good one. So if you haven't got around to planting your strawberries, you probably still have some time. But if you're in the South, anyways. Strawberries are really great, and actually a lot of the farms that grow strawberries or onions do this, and they'll put them together because they grow well together. They require the same kind of nutrients, full sun, all that kind of stuff. So that's actually a good one. And small like radishes, like Easter egg radishes or cherry bell, because you'll harvest them out in like 30 to 45 days and they're gone. And by then maybe your garlic has sprouted, but maybe not. So you can just kind of get a quick crop out before it sprouts. Also like dwarf bok choy that stays like 2 inches. That's usually ready for harvest in like 30 days. So just like things that are quick crops and that stay short. You can kind of utilize the space like in between these emitters and rows and stuff to grow something while you wait for your garlic to sprout. Onions are a little bit different. Let me throw out my gum real quick, guys. Onions are a little bit different because I don't have my onions yet because I have to order them, right? When the pre-sale is over. But I got some green onions just to use as an example. But these are bigger than what onion transplants look like. But anyways, I wanted to give you guys like a visual of it. So let's say these are my onion transplants. As you can see, they have some leaves on them already. So they've sprouted, germinated, whatever, already, so to speak. And they require light already, immediately. Some people like to cut off the onion tops before planting. Don't do that. Don't ever cut your onion tops. Research has actually showed that that will delay photosynthesis even more and result in smaller bulbs. So you get a better yield when you just don't cut the tops. Onions will grow a lot of leaves. And the more leaves you have, the bigger your bulb is at harvest time, because each leaf is one layer of your onion bulb, of the outside layer. So don't remove the leaves. Don't do that. You really need leaves with your onions. So because of that, when you plant these, I would make sure there is absolutely nothing that's blocking the sunlight from these. These are already with leaves and need to get going right away collecting that sun energy. Whereas garlic, it's going to take a long time to sprout. And until it sprouts, it has no way to photosynthesize really at all. It doesn't have leaves to do that. So there's a time period there of waiting, and you can utilize that time to plant a quick crop like the radishes or bok choy or something like that. So anyways, location, full sun, even in Florida. You want well draining soil. If these bulbs sit in the ground with high soil moisture, they will rot out or catch a lot of diseases. So you don't want that. It's very important that the soil drains well. And is full of organic matter. Both garlic and onions are very heavy feeders. They require a lot of nutrition if you want to grow nice sized bulbs. So amend your soil with compost if you have to. I've been using worm castings a lot lately because there's a lot of people saying that worm castings help to get rid of root knot nematodes. I don't have root knot nematodes in this whole section of my garden. Or nothing. It's heavily composted with lots of organic matter. But I do have one garden bed on the other side that I've kind of shut down for a while that does have some, and I got it tested so I know what species it is, so that you know there's hundreds of species of nematodes. So that way you know what plants you can plant in there that aren't going to be affected. So that's really important. But anyways, the idea about the worm castings is that it is full of a lot of microbiology, and when you add that into your soil, you're eating that microbiology, and that microbiology can consist of fungus, worms, like all kinds of things, protozoa, whatever. Nematodes, there's good ones that you need as well, not just the bad ones. And so when you feed that, it kind of competes with the root knot nematodes and kicks them out of the system, or like makes it harder for them to survive and populate and that kind of thing. And a lot of people have found more success treating their whole root knot nematode situation by amending with lots and lots of like worm castings, insect frass, black soldier fly castings, like all this insect related castings. It's hard to find that stuff, especially in bulk, like if you need a lot. I'm a nursery, I'm a business, so I can go and find and purchase mine like in bulk. So I've been using that a lot over compost for a little bit of time, just trying to like amend it with that. So that's my preferred amendment for right now, is just tons of worm castings. But you can use compost as well. Make sure that soil is just really well loaded, good drainage, that kind of thing. So let's talk about the soil amendment specifically. What should you be using initially, and switching your fertilizer setup for your garlic and onions. So soil amendments. What I like to put into the soil before planting time is something really all balanced. Your garlic and onions are going to need all of the nutrients initially. They're forming bulbs. They're forming bulbs, they're forming leaves. So even nitrogen is really important. Nitrogen is responsible for leafy green growth. So initially, when you plant your garlic and onions, you want them to put on as much leafy green growth as possible. Again, the more leaves they have, the bigger the bulbs, the bigger your onions, all that stuff. So initially, high nitrogen is the best thing you can do. That is very, very, very important, to give it that boost so that it just starts growing all of those leaves. So the commercial farms use something like urea. This is not organic stuff, but urea or ammonium sulfate, stuff like that. As you can see, this is the number for nitrogen, very high. 46 is super high. And then phosphorus and potassium are both at 0. This is pure nitrogen right here, very high, pure nitrogen. You can use blood meal. Blood meal is an organic source of nitrogen. I believe it's like 12% instead of 46, and you still get good results. You do. Last year, that's what I used. I didn't use something like urea or ammonium sulfate. I put a ton of blood meal in there though at planting time, and I got really nice bulbs. So this year I was like, I wonder what it will be like if I use something like this, the very, very high nitrogen stuff. So I'm experimenting, and that's why I'm going to incorporate that into my soil. And initially, of course, it's going to need some potassium, some phosphorus. It kind of needs something all balanced. You can use like a 10-10-10, a 13-13, like whatever that has equal amounts of all three nutrients. This is just what I have. I'm actually out of those kinds of things, so I'm going to mix my own. I've got urea, which is the nitrogen component. I've got potash, which I believe this is an organic source of potassium. So I'm just going to throw some of that in there. And then I also have triple phosphate. I don't think this is organic, but this is very high phosphorus. So there I have my nitrogen, my phosphorus, my potassium, and I'm just going to mix them up and use that, because don't go out and buy new fertilizer just because you don't have like a specific one. It's just ratios of things. So something all balanced is ideal, and if you can, throw in some extra nitrogen to really boost the leafy growth initially. And people will tell me like, oh, you know, garlic and onions, they're a root crop, you shouldn't give them a lot of nitrogen and stuff. That's where they are different from traditional root crops, and that's why I don't like to say they're a root crop, and I'd rather call them like a bulbing crop. Because for carrots and stuff like that is more true. They rely more on like phosphorus and potassium, which are the two nutrients responsible for the root development. Nitrogen is for leaf development. But with bulbing stuff like garlic and onions, it's a little bit different. Initially, they want a lot of nitrogen, and then you're going to pull back later in the season and switch to things that are higher in phosphorus and potassium. For onions, you switch and make that switch when you start noticing that the little bulbs, well, this is the transplant, right? That it's starting to bulb out, it's starting to like increase in size. Then you know it's gone into the phase of like bulbing. And now we're going to switch back off on nitrogen. We're going to switch more on to phosphorus and potassium to encourage that bulb development specifically. So that's when you would do it for the onions. For the garlic, I would say somewhere halfway between your growing season. So I know if I plant mine right now in November, and I'm going to harvest like in April, November, December, January, February, March, April, that's like 5 months. So somewhere in the middle, I will start that switch of backing off on nitrogen and giving it more phosphorus and potassium. And since I use this flat drip tape type of system, there's a main line that's like right in the middle of my garden. So all of these drip tapes are connected to that main line. And then all of that goes to my spigot that has the whole drips irrigation system set up on there. I also have fertilizer attachment. So it's like a little mix thing that you attach and you put in, it has to be a liquid or a water soluble fertilizer for that to work. And then that shoots it through my drip tape line. So that saves me, this dog is so needy. I'm so sorry, guys. And if I leave him in the house, he'll cry. He'll cry a lot, really loud, and annoy everyone in my house. So they beg me, please take him with you. Sit, Teddy, sit. You gotta sit, boy. You gotta sit. Anyways, now I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Teddy. Hold on, guys. I gotta fix this. This chat thing went down on my phone here. 1 second. Why won't it open? I don't know what happened. I guess I'll have to look on the chat from here for now. Let me see if I can open it. Okay. Oh, my YouTube, I probably have to restart the whole phone for it to work. All right, I'm going to go without then. I'll just have to look at the main phone right here. But how often do you have to fertilize and with what? I just follow the package directions. That's going to vary depending on what fertilizer you're using, right? So just follow that. I would say aim for something every 3 or 4 weeks. Putting some new fertilizer down with it, with your garlic and onions. Woven naps, humic acid, and biochar are great for treating root knot nematodes. You're absolutely right. I actually took a permaculture class. I'm a certified permaculture designer now, but I took the class because I just wanted a deeper understanding of design and a lot of other things. That was a life-changing experience for me. But we learned how to make biochar and activated biochar or whatever, inoculated in the compost and everything. And I do have videos coming out about that soon. It just takes time to edit it. I got my urea from Amazon, and if you check the description of this class, I try to think of all the things I might mention, supplies, whatever, and I put links in there so you guys can find them. So I'm pretty sure I put one there for the urea. But yeah, all this stuff you can find there on Amazon most likely. I've also used AgroThrive a lot. I used to get that from Amazon too, but they're like sold out or something. I don't know. They've been sold out for a while or just not available. I really liked their product because it was organic on top of being, you know, a liquid fertilizer that I could use in my drip irrigation. So the next best thing I could find was actually this one, which I do not think is organic, but it's Farmer's Secret Fruit and Bloom Booster. So this is higher in potassium and phosphorus. So when I get to the time where I want to back off on the nitrogen fertilizers, this is most likely what I'm going to use. I also wanted to show you guys another one that I've used before. Flower Fuel. I use this a lot with my tomatoes. Same thing. It's super high in potassium and phosphorus, 34 and 32. Phosphorus, potassium. Phosphorus is the middle one. I got this from Amazon as well. I really like using this with my like tomatoes and peppers and that kind of stuff. But it doesn't matter the brand, it's the nutrients. Like, what nutrient do you need to feed your plant at this time? If it's nitrogen, find something with nitrogen. If it's potassium and phosphorus, find something with that and you're good. If it's a crop that you're just growing to eat, it's like leafy greens, it's not producing a fruit or bulb or root or whatever, it just needs nitrogen. It just needs a lot of nitrogen and it'll grow tons of beautiful leafy greens for you. So it depends on your crop. What are you trying to get it to do for you? Are you trying to get it to flower and produce fruit, or are you just trying to get it to grow a bunch of leaves? But anyways, so yeah, the soil amendments, something all general, all purpose, but throw in some extra nitrogen, because at the beginning, nitrogen is really important for that leafy growth. Also, I throw in a bunch of bone meal. Last year I put in tons of bone meal and worked that into the soil. I don't have my bone meal here in front of me right now, but bone meal is, I think it's phosphorus, potassium, it eludes me right now which one, but it's very good for root crops, bulb crops in general. I like to put that in at the beginning because it's going to take a while to break down. So usually like months. So usually by the time things go into like the bulbing phase or whatever, where it needs more potassium, phosphorus, whichever one bone meal gives you, it's available and it's there. So that's what I did. Tons of bone meal, tons of blood meal, and then just fertilized throughout the growing season. And yeah, that worked really, really well. Okay, so you can amend all of the whole area if you want to. Like, I could lift up drip tape lines and sprinkle fertilizer all through here and work it in the soil, but I think personally I feel like you'd be wasting a lot of amendment just throwing it everywhere, because you know, garlic and onions, they're like a central stalk of a plant, and that's it. Like, they don't have very deep root systems, they're not far reaching, they're not going to reach all the nutrients all over the place. So I like to like dig my planting hole, sprinkle in my fertilizer stuff in there, work it into the soil, then plant your garlic or your onion transplant or whatever. It needs it in that spot. All right. It doesn't need fertilizer to be thrown all over the whole area. Thank you, Georgina, for letting me know. Ace Hardware usually has AgroThrive. I've never noticed it locally. I do have a Ace Hardware kind of close to me that I have gone there before to find weird fertilizers and stuff that I normally don't find anywhere else, or it's out of stock anywhere else. So surprisingly, they have stuff in there like when no one else has, or you're having a hard time finding it, they typically have it. So good idea. Ace Hardware might have it. Ruth, you have an 85-pound dog like Teddy. He's a golden doodle. He's I forget which generation. It's the one where there's 75% poodle, 25% golden retriever, because my husband has allergies really bad to pets, and he's never been able to have a big dog before because of that. So I think he's considered a mini, but he's like 35 pounds. I think that's the range for the minis. And this is the biggest dog I've ever had, and I can't imagine having more than that because I did not think about this when I got him, but he can reach up to my counters, at least the edges and stuff like that, and take things. And I can't even imagine a bigger dog. And I've seen bigger golden doodles, the full-size ones, and I'm like, that's a human right there. He can grab everything. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, it drove me nuts. But he's a good boy. But I don't think I'd get a dog bigger than this size. But anyways, okay, so let's talk about pre-soaking garlic. This only applies to garlic. This doesn't apply to onions. Okay, so why do you pre-soak? I honestly have not done this before, and I'm trying this year to experiment. Gardening is one big experiment. But I was looking at Keen Garlic's website. They're the garlic expert, and just reading up on their suggestions for the planting process of garlic. So you can find all this info on their website too. Anyways, they highly recommend you pre-soak your garlic for 2 times. The first time is to sanitize it, to kill any things that might be on it that would cause disease later in your garden if you planted it. And then the second soak is a fertilizer soak to help give it a jump start. And basically these things they're not required, but if the pros say this helps them get nice, bigger bulbs, bigger harvest, then that's what you want to replicate at home. At least that's kind of like my thoughts with it. So, I am going to try this whole process this year and just see, if it was worth it. Did it produce significantly different results? Or maybe it's not worth it and I got like the same thing. So you don't have to waste your time and efforts maybe doing these steps, but we'll see. Anyways, for pre-soaking to sanitize and kill off any pathogens on your seed garlic, Keen Garlic says you are to separate all your garlic cloves. So this is a Transylvania one. I don't want to get these mixed up. So let me close these real good and I'll know that I'm working with this one. I'm just going to take this Transylvanian one. They want you to separate your cloves. And on their website, they say, this is the wrapper that surrounds your cloves. Some people are like, make sure the wrapper stays on there because it protects the little clove from rotting out in the soil and stuff like that. I've heard that. And I believe that. That makes sense to me. But Keen Garlic says it doesn't matter. They've planted with wrapper on it. They've planted without wrapper, and they feel it doesn't make any difference. So don't fret. In previous years, I thought that it did make a difference, and the ones that the wrapper fell off completely, I didn't plant them. So I missed out on possible harvest there. I'm just going to plant them. But anyways, separate them off from your bulb, and you're left with the little individual cloves. Now at this point, you're going to do your pre-soak. So the pre-soak is you're going to soak the cloves in a full strength sterilizer for 10 minutes. And there's lots of different options you can use as your sterilizer. You can use these ones. If you use these ones, you don't have to dilute them. You're going to use them straight up. Isopropyl alcohol 70%, cheap vodka, or hydrogen peroxide 3%. And since I always have tons of hydrogen peroxide 3% here at home because I use it for lots of spraying my plants and stuff like that, that's what I'm going to use. So literally just get a bowl and fill it up with your sterilizer of choice, and soak it for 10 minutes, right? Make sure if you are planting different varieties that you keep them all separate and you label things. At least that kind of stuff matters to me, especially since I'm experimenting to see what varieties grow really well for me. So I got to make sure I do a good job and keep these things separate. But anyways, you're going to soak it for the 10 minutes and then strain them out. Then you're done. You're done with the pre-soak for sanitization. Next, we're going to go into a fertilizer pre-soak. So you're going to take all of your cloves and put it in a container and fill that up with something like fish emulsion, kelp meal. Keen Garlic, I guess, also has a garlic fertilizer soak combo product or something like that. I didn't take a look at it, but apparently they have that if that's what you want to use. And you're gonna you're gonna soak this, they say for at least 30 minutes, but up to 3 days. And then you plant your garlic. They said they don't really notice any difference between 30 minutes up to 3 days or whatever. I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I'll probably do no more than 1 day because I'm in Florida. Things are extra moist anyways. I typically don't tend to like soak seeds before planting and stuff like that because my soils are already so high in moisture that I don't typically have an issue. But I really do want this to soak up those nutrients. So I'll probably leave them for like a day, like a full day at least. Let me stop and take a look at the chat real quick. Nikki's asking if you can plant carrots on the perimeter of your container garlic. When do you switch the fertilizer to higher potassium and phosphorus? So for garlic, halfway through the growing period, the season, it typically takes 5 or 6 months. So halfway in, 2.5, 3 months is when you want to make that switch to backing off on the nitrogen and using the higher potassium and phosphorus. And sure, I mean, you can plant whatever on the perimeter of your garlic growing space, just as long as the leaves and stuff of whatever you planted don't shade out the garlic, because garlic needs full sun or they will not be happy. They don't like anything near them, no weeds, nothing. So, yeah, you can plant something on the perimeter just as long as it doesn't shade it out, and then you're fine. Woven Naps is asking, do I plant my hardneck garlic deeper than my softneck? Nope, I plant them all at the same 3-inch depth, which is also what's recommended by people like King Garlic. But in the south, I did put a very, very, very heavy layer of wood chip mulch that I have. I would say 3 or 4 inch layer. When you're in the south, a lot of people have said that garlic isn't going to be too happy when the soil is warm, on the warm side. So when you put a nice thick layer of mulch, you're keeping that soil more on the cool side. So they do better, even though it's like 3-4 inch thick. So that's what I did, which might be different than someone more up north. I do have vodka around. That's like my preferred drink. I don't like sweet drinks, so I literally take vodka, club soda, or like a lemon flavored club soda or something like that, and that's it. I'm pretty happy with that. Anyways, yeah, so where are we now? Pre-soaking, the fertilizer soak. So yeah, now after you've done all those things, you are ready to plant your garlic. So let me switch the camera here and I'll just show you how to plant the garlic. So we've separated our cloves from the bulb. Now they're individual cloves. You got to make sure that you plant this the right side up. So when you look at your garlic, right? This Teddy, sit. He gets mad when I do these classes. Like, he can tell it's been a long time and I'm not paying attention to him, and then he just starts being obnoxious and stuff. But anyways, this flat bottom right here is where the roots will come out. So this end has to go down, and then this like pointy side up here is where it sprouts from. So make sure you plant them like this. Okay, don't do them upside down or anything like that. Okay, so after you've amended, right? I've talked about that already. Whatever your choice of amendments are, work them into the soil, or you can work them into the little spot that you actually plant this in, which is what I'm going to do. This is just a demo, guys. I do need to come in here and at least weed all this stuff out. But let me find a spot here on my drip emitter system. By the way, in the description, you can find links to I have 2 tutorials on how to set up drip irrigation, because if I can do it, all of you can do it. All right, I don't know anything about pipes and tools and blah blah blah, but this drip irrigation system kit that I get from Drip Depot has been like the easiest thing. It's like popping Legos together. You don't need tools, you don't need none of that. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I bought this stuff with my own money, but I just really like it. It's super easy to use. I'm able to install the drip irrigation system all on my own. I did this whole area. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows in like 20 minutes. And it works. It works from day one. So I do have 2 tutorials about how to set that up and links to the exact supplies that I got from them, the kit, whatever, in the description of this class too. So let's say this area is nice and cleaned and it's been amended already, and then we pre-soaked for sanitation purposes. I hate that the sun's like blasting that out. Hold on, guys. It's very bright here. And then we did our soak for fertilizer, right? Or nutrients to get this going. I might also, just because I have this stuff here, I thought about it. I have this mycorrhizae inoculant, which I've just been adding a lot to like everything just to see if it helps, right? So while these are wet, after taking them out of the fertilizer soak, I might like drop them in and rub this stuff on it. It's like a little powder, and just see if that helps. I have the product, might as well use it. But anyways, so yeah, let me find a space on this emitter. This is a 6-inch drip tape line. I'm gonna have to drop the camera a little bit more so you guys can see. If you can see, I think you guys can see. Okay. This drip tape comes in lots of different spacings. You can get 12-inch, 8-inch, 6, 4. I got 6, and so it has built-in emitters every 6 inches, which is great. I don't have to like manually plug and pop in emitters. It's already like built in there. So right underneath the emitter, or a emitter, helps me get perfect spacing. Just dig a hole about 3 inches, whatever. And like I said, I'm going to be putting my amendments in this little spot here. So we're going to pretend this is some organic granular fertilizer, Espoma, garden tone. Well, there's a worm, an earthworm. I don't want to kill him. Here, I'm another hole for him, because I'm about to mix all this up. Come on, guy. I need to move him. There you go. Anyways, just take some out, pop it in there. Where else you decide to put in there, mix it up with the soil really good so it just doesn't come in like direct contact with it. Then take your garlic, clove, with the correct bottom side down, this flat hard piece here down, the little pointy end up. Also say if you start off with nice big individual cloves, means you're going to end up with bigger whole bulbs later on. So if I planted a clove that was smaller than this one, then that resulting bulb is probably going to be smaller than, you know, the bigger clove, whatever the bigger clove will produce. So you're supposed to go through your bulbs, and if some of them are like too small, don't plant or don't use those ones. You always want to use the nice big ones. So anyways, just put this right down 3 inches, right under your little emitter, your spacing, whatever you're doing. Obviously, I know a ton of you don't have drip irrigation, so you just space stuff out. Normally I use my hand. Like the distance between this is typically 6 inches. So I'll just like use my hand to measure things out. And then the distance between the rows here about 1 foot, 12 inches. All right, so then you're gonna dig that or pop your little clove in there and then just cover it up and then follow with your mulch. A nice thick layer of mulch if you're in the south, at least 3-4 inches to help keep the soil more on the cool side. And I'm gonna take mine back out because this is not the permanent spot for it. I gotta take out all the varieties and set them out and make sure I like what it looks like, and then I'll start like planting everything. So anyways, that's how you plant your garlic. Let me see if I missed any other things I wanted to mention. Okay. Yeah, and for the most part, garlic and onions are very easy to grow. They really don't have very many pest or disease issues. They're part of the allium family, and a lot of pests don't like the way that smells, the way that tastes, and all this stuff. So I've never had a pest problem with planting them. But if you're in a hot, humid climate, all that kind of stuff, you get a bunch of rain, whatever, that causes pathogens like powdery mildew and black spot and whatever, all this stuff to kind of proliferate. So again, that's why you want to have good spacing, 6 to 9 inches apart. With your garlic, onions is usually 4 to 6 inches apart. Good spacing, good airflow. Do not, avoid as much as possible overhead watering your plants. So again, that's why a drip irrigation system like this is great. It's just depositing water at the base into the soil. It's not wetting the leaves, because if the leaves are wet, that means pathogens start spreading. Obviously, if it rains, there's nothing you can do about that, but at least you can control what you're doing and not add more to the problem. So I don't really see that many like leaf disease problems either. Usually when that happens is because you planted them too close, or maybe there's weeds and other plants that are growing around it that are blocking that airflow and stuff like that. So again, spacing and keeping the area nice and clean is super, super important when growing your onions and your garlic. Now that's how you plant garlic specifically. Let's talk a little bit about the onions. I already mentioned a lot of onion stuff earlier in this video. Same thing as, or this class. Same thing as the garlic, full sunspot, even in Florida. They also like well-draining soil. They don't like to sit in moist soils. That'll cause the whole root to like rot out and all this stuff. If you struggle a lot with like soil on the wet side, especially if you're in Florida, like we get monsoon rains, sometimes it just drops, it pours, a hurricane comes, like whatever. Consider growing these things in a green stock garden tower or grow bags or something like that. That will help keep that soil more on the drier side. That helps a lot. I personally have not grown garlic in a green stock garden tower. I'm not saying it's not possible. If you have and it worked out well, please comment below and let everyone else know, including myself. I'd like to know. But I have grown full bulbing onions in them. You just plant one per leaf or whatever you call the little pocket of a green stock garden tower, and I got huge onions from that. So I felt like growing them in a green stock or something like that did not affect negatively anyways my harvest from growing the onions. So they are heavy feeders. They like a lot of organic matter, work in compost, worm castings, whatever you have. Just like the garlic, they also need a lot of nitrogen at the beginning. They need to grow lots of leaves. The more leaves you have, the bigger your resulting onion is going to be at harvest time. So work in blood meal, work in high nitrogen, whatever you can find. And it also kind of needs like, a little bit of phosphorus and potassium here. We're not totally just going to devoid it of those. So that's why I like to start off with something balanced like a 10-10-10 or an organic granular fertilizer like a Spoma Garden Tone. Work that in and then put in that extra nitrogen like the blood meal or something just to up that nitrogen a little bit from the beginning. Once you start seeing it, most likely halfway through your growing season of the onions as well, once you see like the little portion of the transplant starts to like bulb up, it's starting to widen, that's when you totally back away from nitrogen and you're going to just switch to your high phosphorus or potassium. Again, there's lots of ways that you can provide that. Just look up, whatever fertilizer has that. I also like to just amend the little planting hole, not the whole area. So same thing with the garlic. So I find my little emitter, my little spot. Onions, you can plant them as close as 4 inches together, the large bulbing onions, or as far as like 6 inches. Because I'm in Florida and I do have, high humidity, high moisture, the leaves, blah, 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 get pathogens and diseases, I'm putting mine at 6 inches apart. Again, just using the same drip tape line with the built-in emitters every 6 inches. So dig your hole, sprinkle in your amendments, mix them up really good. Your hole doesn't have to be that deep like the garlic. We're not planting this like 3 inches deep. You're planting this just enough, your little onion transplant, to cover the roots and the little base so that it stands up. That's it. You're not going to like bury it none of that. You'll cause the whole thing to rot out. So, you know, put your soil back at level, whatever. Barely put this thing in there, just enough. Compact the soil around your little start to make it just stabilize and stay up, that it doesn't like flop over or whatever. And that's it. And then as the season progresses and you notice that the bottom is starting to bulb up, it's a good idea to take your finger, a spoon, whatever, and kind of circle around the base of your little onion transplant to push the soil kind of away so that the bulb can expand easier, basically. But that's later on. That's later, halfway through the season or more. Yeah, and then if you can, definitely, you know, mulch the area when you're done to suppress the weeds, because if things are blocking sunlight from this poor plant, that's going to be a problem and you're not going to get nice big onions. This area is like half in shade right now during certain parts of the day, because I have a lot of fruit trees on this side of me, behind me here, that I actually need to like completely trim down by like half and stuff like that. Now that it's winter time and they're like dormant, they're coming down. So this is gonna open up this whole area here to a lot more light. So I need to do that as well. But again, with garlic, you don't have to worry too much until it sprouts. When it sprouts, it needs sunlight. It needs direct sunlight. The onions, definitely you have to worry about that from day one, because they already have leaves and they already need to be harvesting that sun energy. So, so yeah, let me take a look at whatever comments are left. That was everything that I wanted to teach you guys today. 1 second while I scroll up through here. I have to get caught up. That's why I like having it on the second phone, but that phone went crazy. I don't know. Some of these questions I think I've already answered. Oh, Libby, yes. So when I'm done with my garden classes, they do get uploaded to my YouTube channel under the live tab, all of them. So if you need to rewatch something or you missed something, you can definitely do that. Okay, no more questions for me, guys? Then I guess we'll end the class. I usually plan these classes to be about an hour long. They tend to go over because people usually have a lot of questions. But anyways, I guess I'll chit chat myself. Actually, do you guys want to see my garden, a little mini garden tour, I guess? And if you have any more questions, put them in there. I'll stop. But I'll show you guys what I have going on this section. 1 second, light it up. Dirt everywhere. So this is one side of my house. It's approximately 50 feet long by about 20 feet wide. Right now, I mean, there's a big mix of things. This is all Puerto Rican black beans, all of that vining crop, all the way over there. I do sell seeds for that on my website. I'm completely sold out because it's a very rare, hard to find thing. So obviously I'm growing more so I can put more seeds. But right here is down at the bottom there is my row of different kales, broccoli, cauliflower, all that kind of stuff, cabbages. This second row here where you see like little tags, I planted direct sowed seeds for like lettuces, Napa cabbages, green onions. It's a mix of different things like medium height crops, whatever. That left me with 3 more rows. Those 3 empty rows right here to plant all my garlic. I think I'm just going to fill it up with garlic and the elephant garlic. Unless, because I have a lot of seed, like I was showing you guys at the beginning. I might end up using it all. I don't know. See what happens when I plant it. And then in the middle here, I have 2 green star garden towers. This one is full of microdwarf tomatoes and some herbs. This one's empty because that one's gonna be full of onions. I'm planting onions there. I'm planting onions. I have 6 garden, green star garden towers, and I only have 2 of them up. And I'm considering filling up the rest of them with more onions because I love onions that much. And when you grow your own onions and harvest them fresh, the flavor is so much more intense than stuff you buy at the grocery store. So I definitely like to grow a lot of onions. This side right here, all of this whole thing is giant yellow Brazilian passion fruit. I do sell seeds for that on my website. It flowered about a couple months ago, and I already see like fruit forming and stuff. It's kind of an odd thing because it's a tropical plant, but it does fruit and flower during the winter time. So that's always a little bit of a challenge, but it works out. Then as we walk here more into it, this whole little patch, this is approximately 5 feet by 7 feet, is direct sowed seeds for a bunch of carrots, radishes, beets, all of those little kind of root crops. I'm more behind me, this is more of that passion fruit. This center right here, if you were at the beginning of this class and I was talking about how I like took a whole bunch of things and mixed them up and used it kind of like a cover crop, this is the Japanese buckwheat, which I do have seeds for that on my website. I really love this. Sorry, a really loud car just drove by. I really love this as a cover crop because it has flowers that bring in tons of pollinators. So I have like this square right here that I didn't really have any idea for. And I just broadcasted a bunch of the buckwheat. There's alyssum in here. This is some lettuce, loose leaf lettuces, the petit dwarf marigolds, dill, cilantro, just like whatever, little things that stay small. Threw it all in here, and now I can eat from it, harvest herbs, the bees come in, and then the bees disperse out to like the rest of my garden, to over there and over there. So I really like this idea of having just a small little square in the middle that you put a bunch of flowers or whatever for the bees. That was nice. When this phases out, I'll be cleaning this out and then planting, I don't know what I'll plant here, but when this is done, definitely planning on planting some kind of vegetable crop. And then behind me here, all of that was cucumbers. I direct sowed seed, I think the beginning of September, and I'm trying to position this. It's got me all blown out because the sun is so, hold on guys, let me get this right. Cucumbers, tons and tons of cucumbers, planted at the end of, or beginning of September. And I've harvested so many, it's ridiculous. This has probably been one of my best harvests. Yes, initially in September and a little bit of October, it was a little difficult because of like worms and stuff. The disease and pest pressure is still pretty high during that time, but I just stayed on top of it. I put my treatments, kept it under control, and then they disappear because the cooler weather and everything is just so much easier to garden and grow things during the fall, especially if you're in Florida. So then they were thriving, they were great. I got tons and tons of harvest. Actually, here's a little cucumber right here. This is the Calypso hybrid cucumber, which I have seeds for on my website. It's a good one for pickles. So yeah, I've been making a lot of pickles lately with these or eating them fresh. Really good variety. Really impressed with it. It's a hybrid, but it's good. It's super productive. That's why I offer that one on my website. Actually legit good. But anyways, these are phasing out. We got some really cold temperatures. I can tell they're just like not happy anymore. And it's at the end of its life cycle. Cucumbers don't really last that long. Sorry, my dog just walked in front of you guys. It doesn't really last that long as a crop like some other things. It normally will put like a really big flush of fruit at the beginning, then kind of slow down, and then maybe a second one. But then after that, it's a done deal. Like these are, you're not going to get much production anymore. They're just catching diseases. They're at the end of their life cycle. So I'm going to be yanking all this out and direct sowing seeds for peas at this point, probably some snow peas, which are a cool season crop. They'll really grow well at this time of year. I like to direct sow mine in November. So this is just going to be full of different kinds of peas. And then the last thing is all of this. This is Seminole pumpkin. There are tons of pumpkins under here. I direct sow seeds for this, I think also the very beginning of September. And it is wild. I love it. I love it. There's tons and tons and tons of Seminole pumpkins in there. And one of the questions I get most often asked, because I do have seeds for this on my website. I've been out for some time and now I'm starting to get some back in stock. But the size of the Seminole pumpkins, most of the time, they're nice and kind of small and cute. But sometimes you'll get one that's like really big. And that's because for the most part, it's still considered a land race crop. How do I explain that? It's wild. It's still considered kind of a wild. The genetics aren't like super stabilized like something else, you know, another option. So typically, I hope I don't break this. I don't know if you guys can see it. Here, I'll zoom in it. Typically, they'll look something like this. That's a good one. That's a good, nice small one. And then sometimes you'll just get a monster. I don't know. It happens. Again, it's a landrace variety. You're going to get wide, like a different variety of sizes. Sometimes they will like mature immediately into like this tan color like this. And then others will mature like dark green and then they'll tan up. It's just weird. They're just different, but it's all the same. It's Seminole pumpkin. Let me go back into a shady spot now. So yeah, Seminole pumpkin patch, cucumbers behind me that will be replaced with snow peas probably soon. That sun is so strong today. The middle here with something for the pollinators. Then we've got carrots, different root crops, green stalk garden towers. And then the last section over here, which is my shady spot real quick, with tons of brassicas and soon to be garlic. All right, let me check the last bit of comments here. 1 second, guys. I have to scroll back up, so 1 second. Georgina's asking if I'm growing Puerto Rican black beans. Yes, but I started those months and months ago. So I can't remember the exact date I direct sowed the seeds for them, but yeah, I'm still harvesting from them. Where I'm at, it doesn't really get like cold enough to terminate them until like the last week of December. So I still have a solid month of being able to harvest before the cold really comes in and then terminates my Puerto Rican black beans. Robin, the majority of the bare root strawberries you got from me were not doing well. I don't know. There's so many reasons why strawberry bare roots can go wrong. I've had great success with them, and I have tons of customers that are reporting to me that theirs are doing great and growing. So it's very hard to say like why hers are not doing that great. It's hard to say. There's so many things that could have happened. I do have videos that show how to plant them and stuff. I don't know, but I have got lots of reports from people that are really happy with them and said they were the best. I know the bare roots are more difficult to grow than like a strawberry plant or a strawberry plug. That is for sure. And I know that some people really struggle with bare root type situations. The reason why I like to offer bare roots is because they're cheaper. They're significantly cheaper. I can give you a better price on them. You can get higher quantity of plants for that price compared to like a plug or individual plant. Like I saw individual plants in the store. They were like $15 for like a 6-inch container for one plant, which is ridiculous because when you grow strawberries, you need quite a few or you're barely going to get a harvest. So I don't know, and I don't know without seeing her what it looks like to be like, oh yeah, they'll bounce back, or no, they're not coming back. Mine typically, all the leaves will like die off and be done. So a lot of people think that means the whole thing is dead, and that's not true. It's just sometimes go through transplant shock, and then those leaves just like die and fall off, and then it outputs all brand new green leaves. So I'm not sure if hers are like totally a goner at this point, or if they are just going to be outputting new leafy growth. Growing edibles is asking, is it a good time to plant evergreen onions, scallions? Yes. Right now is full on in allium. Anything in the allium family basically will really grow well planted right now. So I'm also planting green onions and all that kind of stuff too. Georgina says, do you have a lot of problems with cucumbers? So I would say anything in the cucurbit family which is cucumbers, melons, squash, is probably the hardest crop to grow, in my opinion, for a home backyard gardener, because they attract all the pests, all the diseases, everything. And then second to that is tomatoes. But I love tomatoes. They're my favorite thing to grow despite that. So, yeah, you have to get the timing right on those. I find that the sweet spot for planting them, direct sowing the seed, is 2 weeks before my last spring frost date, which no one's ever going to tell you that. I'm telling you that as a professional grower, and I've heard this from other professional growers. If you're in a hot climate, the sweet spot to plant that stuff is 2 weeks before your last spring frost date, because you're still going to get a couple more cold fronts, but they're not severe. They shouldn't be anyways. And so you just protect the little seedling, like for that night, whatever that is happening. Put something over it, get milk jugs and cut the bottom off and make like a little mini greenhouse. They should be small plants at this point, so it's pretty easy to cover. Just to get them through those couple last cold fronts that are coming through. That gives you a huge head start on the season, so that way you can grow it while the disease and pest pressure is still down. Like all of that stuff is still not even woken up yet from their like winter dormancy, hibernation, whatever. And so I can grow that stuff with virtually no pest or disease problems and harvest everything out before all that heat and everything really starts to return in spring, and then all the pests and diseases are crazy again and ruin your harvest. So that has been the sweet spot for me, or if you're a hot climate gardener. The other sweet spot is at the very end of summer, which is what I did. Those cucumbers I showed you guys, those were direct sowed. I want to say the first week of September. Knowing that my disease and pest pressure is still kind of high, but I had to like stay on top of that, stay on top of the treatments, check on them every day. As soon as you see any damage, any disease, immediately treat, knock that thing down. The more days that go by that you ignore it, the more more the problem is growing, more that pest is populating and increasing in numbers, which is going to take down your plants even more and require more treatments and work to keep that plant going, if that makes sense. So I was extremely vigilant on top of that for maybe another month from there, so the whole month of September. And then by October, I started seeing all that stuff kind of like just go away naturally. And right now there's none. I don't have any pests. I don't have any diseases. Everything looks really good. The only thing is my cucumbers look really sad, and I could tell they got some cold damage because surprisingly, we got an oddly cold front last week. It dropped down to like 36 in my area, which is, I have not recorded that for years in November. Usually the first time the temperatures drop into the 30s for me here in Orlando, Florida, is the very last week of December. So that's what I consider my first frost. So it literally came a whole month and some earlier this year. Very weird. I don't know what that means because I have not seen that yet. I don't know if that means winter is coming early. I don't know if that means winter is going to be longer. I don't know. But it should not be in the 30s in November where I'm at. So that was a little unusual. The cucumbers definitely took a hit. They weren't too happy. They're still alive. but they're not too happy. They're at the end of their life cycle. I've already harvested more than what I could do or figure out what to do with. And I'm just gonna like pull them out at this point and replant with since there was a trellis there, another vining crop, and since it's cool season, I would go with a cool season crop, which would be like peas, snow peas, that kind of thing. And actually, I did film a bunch of videos about growing cucumbers. Since I had them growing in, I took advantage of that time and did a bunch of videos troubleshooting them, planting, like a whole bunch of stuff. But that stuff is going to come out in spring because that's when everyone's like trying to grow them. I try to like time my videos to what's happening at that time of year, or what's more relevant, if that makes sense. So that stuff will come out later when it's time to plant. Woven Naps mentioned about the strawberries. Yeah, another big problem is that people will, if you're planting bare root strawberries, they cover too much of the crown portion with soil or mulch. I've been getting a lot of emails from people asking me about the mulch, like how close to put that to the crown as well. And what happens is if there's something, soil or mulch, hitting that crown too much, it traps soil in there, causes it to rot out, and the whole thing just dies. There's nothing you can do about that. Robin's asking me about tips turning brown on your banana leaves. I have to see a picture. I don't know. There's lots of different kinds of reasons for banana leaves turning brown. Some of them have a natural brown variegation or spotty pattern on them, which is natural. And then other times the edges will start turning brown and like getting dry and crispy. Multiple reasons. Too much water, too little water. The air is too dry. It's not humid enough. It is a tropical plant and it likes humidity. It could be a fungal disease or something like that. There's so many reasons. I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that you put rocks on the soil, unless it's keeping the soil more on like a wet side or whatever. But bananas, for the most part, like soil moisture, but too much obviously will also rot the root system. So I'm not sure if it could be caused from so many things. I guess the first thing I would do is, if you think it's a fungal disease or something like that, Google it and see what your banana looks like. If it looks like a fungal disease, I would cut off the badly diseased parts and then fertilize so that your banana plant will put on new healthy green growth. And also by trimming off and cutting off that portion, you're also stopping that disease from like spreading even more. It could also be the cold weather. They don't like the cold at all. So not sure if it was exposed to cold temperatures or whatnot, but they treat it like a very tropical houseplant if you're keeping it like indoors right now. And man, they're cutting grass and stuff. I don't know if you guys can hear that. As far as strawberry bare roots, soaking them before planting is completely normal. I don't think that would have been a problem unless she soaked them too long. I don't know, like days or something. That is not good. That will definitely cause the root system to rot out. I soak mine for like no more than an hour, and then take them out and plant. Soaking them in fish fertilizer is a great idea. I really appreciate all of you guys putting your little tips in there and trying to help out my other viewers with their strawberry issues. I'm sorry. I am still scrolling through the comments. I'm trying to catch up. Oh, if you don't have a frost date, that can be tricky to calculate things. If you don't have a frost date, then you should be growing cucumbers right now. if it doesn't get cold enough to produce frost, this is the time of the year for you. Like then for you, you're going to want to direct sow those seeds during the coldest part of your year, which is going to be now, which is going to be November, December, January, probably February. It's hot for you again. So try it now. Direct sow some seeds right now. Make sure you check them every day and catch those pest and disease problems right away. Woven Apps is asking if there's any pepper seeds in the Decemeber Seed Club package. Yeah, because so the one I have a seed subscription service. If y'all didn't know, I do 4 shipments a year, and it's based on the upcoming season. So, on December 20th, I'm shipping out the next delivery, and it's all for spring crops. So. Yeah, and I try to pick like a wide variety of different kind of crops. So there'll definitely be a pepper in there, a tomato, some kind of green, some kind of flower, some kind of herb, like whatever, like a good mix of different crops for y'all. I haven't decided what pepper yet. I have to go through and see what I liked, what I didn't like, what I think more people would be successful growing. It just depends. Depends when I sit down and look at it, what I think would be the best for you all, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do definitely plan on putting in some sort of a pepper. Ruth's question about what fertilizer to use with strawberries. So with all berry crops, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, they really benefit from using a berry specific formulated fertilizer, because they also have usually things in it to reduce the soil acidity, because those crops really like to grow in acidic soil. So I recommend something like Espoma's Berry Tone. Miracle Grow has a liquid fertilizer, a powder, whatever, you mix it with water, it used to be called Mere Acid, but I think they changed the name to like Acid Loving Plants or For Acid Plants, whatever. Miracle Grow's acid, whatever, fertilizer is also really good. And that's what I would specifically use for the strawberries. Wendy's asking me about curly diseased leaves on basil and tomatoes. So with tomatoes, I've definitely have seen that before, and I can speak on that. But basil, I really haven't noticed basil leaves getting curly. But maybe, it could be maybe the same causes as what makes tomato leaves curly. It could be something completely different. They're different crops. They're going to respond differently. But anyways, with my tomatoes, the number one thing I've noticed that causes the leaves to like all of a sudden start growing kind of curly or weird, funky looking, is the soil is too hot, which is mostly a problem if you're a southern gardener. So I don't know if you're in the south, but one year I had black weed blocker material laid out the whole growing space, and I had burned holes into it, into the plastic with a hand torch, and then I popped my tomato transplants in there so they could grow, because I'm like, oh, this will help like no weeds to grow, because weeds are a big issue for me. But what happened was then all my tomatoes grew with like curly leaves, because that weed blocker material is black and it traps heat from the sun in there, and it kept the soil temperature way too hot. It was bad. I had to like cut the weed blocker off and open it up, and then they were fine. There's also various pathogens in the soil that can infect your tomato plants and cause funky leaves and stuff like that. When that happens, for the most part, that is not something you can cure, because it's a pathogen that infected the inside of the plant. It got into the root system, infected the inside of it. It's now a systemic problem. Same thing with tomato wilt virus, if you've ever seen that, where literally one day your tomatoes, they look perfect. The next day you come out and they're like all sad and wilted, or some of them are. When they get wilted that fast, it's a tomato wilt virus, or it can be caused by certain bacteria as well. There's no cure for that. again, it's a pathogen that entered into in the inside of the plant. And the best thing for you to do, honestly, is to yank that plant out so that that pathogen can't like reproduce and then drop again into the soil and spread even more. And this is also where soil solarization is actually beneficial for if you have those kind of issues. It heats up the soil and kills off those pathogens. If you've had a very bad year with like tomato blight or something like that, definitely solarize, because that will really help eliminate and kill off those pathogens. For the most part, the blight and all these pathogens, they spread on the foliage and stems of your plants. And then as those plants are like dying and the leaves are like dying off or whatever, it falls back down, hits your soil, contaminates your soil even more with more of these pathogens. And that's kind of how they spread. So keeping the area clean, do not compost with diseased parts of plants or like the dead leaf matter from diseased plant, none of that. It'll just spread even more. So yeah, you might have to solarize if you think that the issue is some kind of soil pathogen. And to solarize, you want to use a frosted white plastic sheet, not a clear white. People use black too, all black, which is fine. But typically you use a clear, like a frosted white, because it still will trap in some of that sun. But before you put that plastic down, you also want to deeply, deeply, deeply water the soil to get it real full of moisture, so that that heat will like cook up that soil with that moisture, if that makes sense. And then you want to solarize for a couple, I don't know, a month or two. The longer the better. Solarize during the summer when it's the hottest time of the year, so that it could really capture as much of that sun energy as possible, and heat up the soil as much as possible to really make it count. But yeah, not sure the exact cause of your thing, especially on the basil. I do know that cold weather can also cause funky growth and stuff like that. Basil does not like cold at all. So it could be that as well. It could be some sort of a pest, which I could easily see this happening on a tomato, but for the most part, pests don't really like basil that much. But like if it's a sucking kind of insect, like an aphid or something, they're literally sucking the juices out of your plant and sucking out that moisture from the inside, and it like shrivels up. That can happen too. So I just gave you a bunch of reasons there. You're gonna have to like look at your plants and see what you can figure out. Grace, by Pepper. I also try to pick things that I think the majority of people will like in my seed subscription things, and most likely it's gonna be a sweet pepper, because everyone likes sweet peppers, right? Only some people like spicy peppers. But yeah, it most likely will be a sweet pepper. Robin's asking about my indoor tomato plant doing. I don't have an indoor tomato plant right now. I have grown them indoor, and I do have some videos of some that I've grown indoors, and they grew fine. But as of right now, I don't have tomatoes growing indoor. I do have a couple countertop little hydroponic kits. They're like this big each. I haven't grown tomatoes in that yet, but I have grown and am growing right now in those. But it's like greens and herbs mostly that I've tried in there. But I do want to grow microdwarf tomatoes in them next. Woven apps, you're asking me solarizing versus fallowing. Fallowing, I'm assuming that means letting the soil to rest and not planting anything in there, letting it fallow for a season, and versus solarization. So I've done all of those things. At first, I used to solarize. And what I say, I have one raised bed that has the root knot nematodes, and that's what I'm referencing to. I have this raised bed that I'm trying to knock it down. The first year I solarized that thing. I just put the plastic over that, solarized the heck out of it for a whole year, didn't plant anything in there at all, just left it on there. And I took it off last winter, and I planted a whole bunch of like carrots and beets, like a bunch of root crops, a lot of mustards. It was a big variety of stuff, and they all grew and they all gave me a harvest, but I saw the root knot nematode damage. Not on my mustards, but I saw it on the root crops. But it was on the root crops and on the little roots that like come off from the main root. I was still able to eat all my carrots and beets and all that stuff. It wasn't like all mangled or something. But I was like, definitely there's still this presence of root knot nematodes, and I haven't planted anything in this thing for a year, and it's been solarizing for a year, which is insane. You would think that everything would be dead in that soil. But no. So that has now caused me to, I've been doing tons of research on root knot nematode management. When I took the permaculture class a couple months ago, that was a big question of mine, and I kept talking to them about, because they also had that as an issue, trying to figure out a different way. And my research so far has come to the conclusion that it's a soil health and microbiology problem. Not so much just solarize. And solarization is like the automatic recommendation. Even if you contact like your local county extension office, which I contacted mine because I had them come out and test. I wanted to know what species I was dealing with. So they came out and tested, and they're like, why don't you just solarize? I'm like, that doesn't work. I literally solarized for a year. That doesn't work. I think solarization kills off everything in there, including the good stuff, which is bad. And there's a lot of other gardeners on YouTube that researching everything. There's Elise from Urban Harvest. She has a couple videos where she says, do not solarize. It doesn't work. You need to be amending your soil and this kind of stuff. There's another guy, I think he's called Stacks Urban Harvest or Stacks something. He's in Florida as well. He had a couple videos about nematodes that I watched, and he claims he eradicated them from his beds by adding tons and tons of worm castings. He didn't use worm castings. He used insect frass from grasshoppers because he had a friend. I don't know if the friend worked at this company that made the insect frass or whatever, and they gave him a bunch of it. I actually looked into that company. They grow grasshoppers for like, I guess when you go to a pet store and you buy grasshoppers or something to feed your other pets, or whatever people grow grasshoppers for. So they have this like insect frass, and they do sell it on their website, but it's super expensive. It's super expensive. So I was like, that's not a realistic option for me, or probably the majority of people. So that's where I turned to worm castings as the next best thing, because I can find that locally and stuff and buy it. But anyways, I've been heavily amending with the worm castings. His reason for why that works is because it's inoculated with tons of microbiology and all this healthy good stuff, and you're putting that into your soil, which is going to grow and outcompete and like push out the root knot nematodes out of the system, if that makes sense. So your goal should be increasing soil microbiology. And that's why everyone says add compost and amend your soil and work in organic matter. Yes, because that ultimately feeds soil microbiology and makes that stuff grow more, and therefore pushing out the root knot nematodes. So I am also leaning towards that as the solution. So that one bed that I have, it is currently fallow. This year I didn't solarize because it didn't work, right? So this summer, I heavily cover cropped with, what's that plant called? Not sorghum, sundan grass, which is another good option. Sun hemp. So I totally cover cropped that whole bed with sun hemp, chopped that stuff up, worked it into the soil, cleaned out that bed. I want to plant in it again right now, but I'm like, I think I'm going to follow it up with another cover crop during this winter. It's called Nemat mustard, Caliente Rojo mustard seed mix. So a lot of people say that mustard is a good cover crop. It produces some kind of chemical compound that gets released into the soil as it breaks down in your soil, releases it, which kills the root knot nematodes. And there's this variety, the Caliente Rojo, or it's also Caliente Rojo is a type of mustard. You can buy that seed, which is what I did. Then there's a Nemat blend, which has the Caliente Rojo mustard and a type of arugula, I think, in there to like increase this compound that kills them, right? This blend has that in there. That stuff is really expensive. Even for me, I can buy seeds like wholesale and stuff in bulk, whatever, and it was freakishly expensive. So that's why I went with the Caliente Rojo mustard seed. And so I think I will, just for like double extra, I'm going to be filling that whole bed with that. And then I'm going to attempt to grow stuff in it in spring and see if I'm able to knock the numbers down. Pretty much once you have the root knot nematodes, they're never going to go away for like 100%. It is now a management issue. Like you just have to manage it forever going forward. But you can get it down to a point where you can still grow and still get a harvest and it not like totally ruin everything. So that's where I am. That was a huge discussion about root knot nematodes. Which I also am trying to do YouTube videos about that whole thing, because it's one of the most popular questions that I get as well, and I actually don't have a video about it yet, but I'm just waiting to see the results of my personal bed so that I can comment about that in the video. Okay. Woven naps, I see that you added all that stuff to it. Oh yes, I forgot to mention crab meal as well, because crab meal, crustacean meal, shells, all that stuff has high amounts of chitin in it, which I think that's a protein, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, the beneficial nematodes and other mycorrhizae, microbiology, blah, 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 whatever stuff in the soil, really love to feed on that and eat it, so that further like increases their numbers. That's why also compost tea is really good, because that increases their numbers. But I have a caveat with compost tea. You have to know that the compost you're putting in to make this tea actually has live biology in it. Okay, a lot of times people will go to the store, buy a bag of compost and use that to make your compost tea, but that bag of compost could be dead, like not actually have soil microbiology in it. Who knows how that compost was actually made? The best compost is the one that you make yourself, because then you know it's biologically active. Otherwise, it's pointless to use. Biochar, again, another reason why you should be using biochar, but biochar can be hard for a lot of people to make. You have to burn wood. You have to be able to have access to a lot of wood to burn, and dig a big pit, and it doesn't have to be that big either. And actually in my permaculture class, we dug a little pit. It was probably like 3 feet, a meter, 3 feet wide. And we burned in there, and we made a little hole will make a lot of biochar. You don't need a lot. But for some people, they really struggle. Like, I don't have trees on my property, except for my fruit trees. But when I trim and prune my fruit trees, I can save that material, let it dry out, and use that to make a little hole and burn and make some biochar. Or you can get a cauldron, like I don't know how you say this. I say cauldron because that's the word in English, right? But in Spanish, we call it a caldero. So you can go to the Spanish grocery store and they sell calderos. They're like big pots that are made out of, I think it's iron, I don't know, whatever metal, aluminum, whatever, it's like solid metal. Use that, and you can burn your wood in there to make biochar in a smaller, more controlled little environment instead of building a pit or whatever. So I thought that was really cool and much more realistic for a home backyard gardener to do than the whole pit and all of that. But yes, I have videos coming out on this stuff, guys. It takes me months to make videos, filming them. Sometimes it takes me a whole year to grow a crop, so I'm literally filming during a whole year, bits and pieces, and I have to put all that together and edit it and then put it, so it's a lot of work. But there is a lot of info out there. It is very overwhelming. My brain just wants to like almost vomit all this information on y'all. But there's a lot of knowledge out there. You can never be a master with gardening because of that. Like, I'm learning new things every day, and I've been doing this like my whole life. So lots to learn. I do appreciate all your comments, because I learn just as much from you guys as you do for me. Like, I learn new stuff all the time, new products, new ideas, new methods of doing something, different varieties. Like, I learn a lot too. So woven naps, yes, that class, it was a permaculture course by Tierra Finca. They definitely have a website. They're located in Costa Rica, Puerto Viejo, Costa Rica on the Caribbean side. I have never actually got any kind of formal education on gardening. I didn't go to school for it. None of that. I just love researching the heck about it, and just my whole life doing it. So I was like, I really want to do some kind of a course or something related to gardening, this thing that I love so much. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this year. I saw that they had several permaculture classes. I think they have the last one in November. They do like a September, October, November, and then they have some more, I think, next year, like January, February. I think something like that. They have multiple ones a year. Definitely worth it. Like, I was like, I'm not sure if this is just going to be like surface level knowledge that I already know, or is this going to be like more detailed stuff? It definitely was like way more detailed stuff. Especially when it comes to, if you want to learn how to be more self-sufficient, if you want to learn design with consideration of like sun angles and wind, where your wind comes from, slopes, water, where does water collect on your property? Like, all these things that I noticed, but I didn't know it had like a name, or like there was an actual thing about it. So actually this class is almost going into 2 hours, because I can talk forever and ever. I try to do for one, but I do want to ask you all something, because while I was in this class, this permaculture class, they very heavily discussed pruning plants during the full moon, or versus not a full moon, and this whole moon gardening thing, which I have heard tons of people do this, right? Even my aunt, who my Dominican side of the family that grows a bunch of stuff, I've always grew up hearing them say, oh, you should plant during, it's a full moon, you should plant, it's a good time to plant. Or in this permaculture class, they were saying you should prune your plants during the new moon, so when there's no moon, which is approximately 1 week after a full moon, because the moon's gravitational pull affects water, right? It affects the oceans and currents and stuff. So it will draw up sap. Like, if it's a full moon, lots of gravity will draw up sap from the plant up to the tips or the canopy, up, right? And that sap has growth hormones, nutrients, all that stuff. It's like the blood of the plant, basically. Pulls it all up. So if you prune during that time, you're cutting all of that sap out, all of those growth hormones, all this stuff, and your plant, not necessarily like it will kill your plant, but like it just can't recover as quickly and output a lot of new growth for after being pruned if you got rid of like all that sap and the growth hormones and all that. So you should prune when there's no moon, because the sap apparently goes down and it's more like located in the roots and the main stem, so that way when you prune, you're not removing it. And apparently plants recover a lot faster. And I'm telling you guys this because I don't necessarily believe it. I'm just being honest with you. I have researched the heck. I've tried to find data, like scientific research proving it. I wanted it to be proven, but I have not found that. There's literally zero. If you know of something that proves this, please email me, info@jarosgarden.com, and let me know. But I also don't want to discredit generations of age-old knowledge that humans have observed, especially gardeners, right? A lot of our knowledge is like passed down. Some of that knowledge is not factual, or it's nonsense. That is true, but some of it, there's a reason for that. And when I was in Costa Rica, part of this class was also visiting the native indigenous populations to understand how they grow food without all of our modern machinery, fertilizers. They definitely are on a whole nother level with like their connection to nature and the things that they observe. And they lived with generations of passed down knowledge. And it's like a whole different, very, very wonderful experience. I enjoyed that. I visited like 3 times with the native, they're called Bribri in that area. Apparently they're an older civilization than the Mayans, but in Costa Rica. But anyways, the Bribri, I visited their houses. We went hiking in mountains. They would show us plants, like all this stuff. Amazing, amazing. Just the way they talk about it, they believe that too. They believe you should plant on the full moon. You should prune on the new moon, all this stuff because of the sap and whatever. I don't want to discredit that age-old knowledge. I'm not saying outright that it's wrong. I just don't know. I don't know. Maybe none of us really know. But it's a fun experiment, I think, to try. And I'm definitely, my plants are due for a nice hard pruning. Yeah, they're getting too tall. I need to like reduce their size and stuff. So I'm waiting for the next new moon to do that and just test it out and see what I can find out. But if any of you swear by this, like you believe it, please comment, let me know. Email me your thoughts. I'm just curious on that because it's just something I've heard of a million times growing up, and a lot of people swear by it. I will say that in the permaculture class, they had 2 coffee trees, shrubs. They're like a mini tree shrub thing. Huge ones, very mature too. And they were like planted close by, same variety. One, he purposely cut down during the full moon, right? So when all the sap was up, he removed that sap, which is not good, right? You're not supposed to do that. The other one, he waited for the new moon when the sap is down, pruned that off, and that tree was like 4 times as big, like grew back, like huge, compared to the one that he cut down during the full moon when you removed all the sap. I will say, that's what they said. So that means like within a week apart of cutting each other, and that one was significantly like way smaller. So, but I don't know. There could be other reasons for that. There could be soil differences, tiny, minute soil differences, or light, or whatever. Maybe one has a disease, the other, millions of reasons, and that's why I think it's like almost nearly impossible to like test this out in a laboratory or scientific kind of setting. The branches could have been thicker on one tree than the other, and like there's a million reasons, right? But anyways, let me read these comments. Is it too late to start seeds for seminal pumpkins? Yes, I would not start them now. I'm not sure where you're located. Florida. Oh, okay. Thank you. Direct sow seeds 2 weeks before your first spring frost. For me, you're in 10A. I'm also in 10A, but I don't know. Our frost dates could still be a little different. My frost date is like the 2nd week of February. So I will be direct sowing seeds at the very end of, or February 1st. Knowing I'm still going to get some cold fronts, just protect those little seedlings with something on those few nights. That'll give you a huge head start on the season. So that's when I plant all my cucurbits, actually. Oh, sorry if I'm not saying this right. The Eduardo, sorry. You're struggling with brown spots on your mulberry tree. I would give that a nice, hold on, there's a car. Before you do something, you need to identify what the cause is. Like, is it just dropping leaves because it's cold? Because they don't really like the cold either. They'll survive, but they're not too happy. They could be dropping leaves because of that. They could be dropping leaves because it's too windy, or browning, or getting brown and dried out because it's too windy. It could be anthracnose, which is a fungus that is found naturally in the environment. It's nothing you did. It's not that the plant had it or was infected or something. It's just all over the place. And anthracnose on fruit trees, so we'll collect on your fruit trees. It looks like black, powdery, spotty stuff. I have it really bad on one of my mango trees to the point where I think I'm going to get rid of that mango. It's a Kerry mango, which is one of like the best tasting ones. But she's just very, very sensitive to anthracnose. Whereas my other mango, a Namdok Mai, which is 15 feet away from that one, has none. So some mango trees or some varieties of things are more susceptible to it than not. But anyways, if you have like an aphid infestation or scale infestation on your fruit trees, very, very common. Both of those insects secrete a sweet honeydew-like substance, and that will like get on the branches and the leaves, and then the anthracnose, which is a fungus, will like embed in that sticky stuff and then like grow all over your tree and stuff. So you need to spray with like horticultural oil to like smother it out and get rid of it. You need to do hydrogen peroxide sprays to like kind of clean it off. You can do isopropyl alcohol as well. A lot of things. Trim out the bad stuff, encourage new growth. So anyways, it's hard to say what exactly is the cause of your mulberry trees leaves turning brown. But the good thing is mulberry trees are very hard to kill plants. That's a good one. That's a good fruit tree I recommend everyone have. It's hard to kill. I would trim it a little bit, give it some fertilizer, that kind of thing. Mulberry trees actually kind of benefit from defoliation at some point. It will trigger them to produce again. So some people can get 2 or 3 harvests in a year of mulberries by removing, like they'll actually manually remove all the leaves off their tree, because for whatever reason it just triggers it to like start producing again. So I wouldn't be too worried about removing the leaves on the mulberry tree. That's not the case for all fruiting trees, okay? That's just a mulberry thing though. The equator has something to do with it. The moon gardening? I'll Google that and see what I find out about that. But dude, I was looking everywhere and I just couldn't find anything to like support anything about moon gardening. But a lot of people swear by it. So they swear by it. The indigenous people swear by it. I saw apparently proof of it to my eyes in person, but I'm still like, I don't know. I personally don't moon garden because I'm like, whatever. You know, I don't, you know, why take it to that level when there's not proof that it actually is worth taking it to that level. You know, if I have no, and I barely have enough time. So if I have time to hurry up and prune something and it's a full moon, then whatever, it's going to get pruned anyways. Habitual hobbies, last frost in February, sounds like a dream. Yep, that's my last frost. It is a dream. I'm born and raised here in Florida, and I will never leave. I'll never leave zone 10A. 10A is like the cusp right there between all the zones. You can grow all of the cool season stuff during a very particular part of the year, and then you can grow all the super tropical stuff the rest of the year. So I trade in like 3 months of the worst heat imaginable to the point where I barely come outside, which is July, August, June, July, August, for like 9 months in a row of the best. Today's the most beautiful day. Look at this. It's like, I think 70s, clear skies. Nice to be sitting outside for once, where the majority of the country is probably under snow or it's too cold or whatever. I'll never live in snow. But yeah, you can grow around here. I'll never leave this area. But again, I pay for it when summer comes and it's too hot, and the majority of things, well, traditional American crops that we're used to don't grow at all. So you really gotta switch and be creative and go to all the tropical jungle gardening is what I like to call it. Whatever survives in a jungle is what will survive here in Florida. But there's a lot of things, that are tasty and wonderful crops. A lot of people don't really know about, so I'm trying my hardest to educate more on those things. But anyways, ooh, your first harsh frost. I don't even know what that's like. I have no idea what it's like to live in snow, and I don't want to know. I've only seen snow one time. I was in Chicago and it was like coming down, and I was like, nah, this ain't for me at all. Yeah, come down to Florida and garden year round. Most likely you'll end up here anyways. Most people come down here and retire. Get yourself some land in the middle of nowhere and grow it year round. My brother's a realtor. I think his link is in the description probably because I tell everyone about him, so he'll hook you up. But anyways, this class has gone way over. It's 2 hours now when there's supposed to be one. And I have things I gotta do today on the weekend, but I'm gonna close here. If you have any additional questions, or if you have research that proves that moon gardening stuff works, please email me at info@jarrahsgarden.com, okay? And I'll answer your questions and I'll look at your research. I would like to learn more about that. Don't forget, if you need short day onions, I have 3 varieties to choose from on my website. Last day to order is tomorrow, and then we close the whole thing down so that we can prep and ship everything out, and that's it for the season. I won't have more until next year when it's time to grow onions again. What else? What else is going on? Oh, my seed subscription, if you want to be part of that, the deadline to join is December 1st. So you'll be included in the next delivery, which is going to be for a spring selection of seeds. When do I prune peach trees? Right after I'm done harvesting. Peaches, I have a video about that actually, where I prune my peach trees. They produce fruit on new wood. So that's why you got to know like your fruit trees. Do they produce on new wood? Do they produce on old wood? If they produce on new wood, most likely you want to prune them down as soon as you're done harvesting to make it then start producing lots of new growth that will carry into the new year. That's the new growth that will produce. So I prune my peaches like in June when I'm done harvesting those things. Does my garden suffer much during hurricane season? Yes, it does. I'm in the center of the state though, thank God, of Florida. If you're on the coast, I honestly don't know how you guys do it. The flooding and all of that, and the sand too, because there's a lot of sand. I mean, my native sandy soil here is still sandy, but it's not like beach sand like what the coast gets. But I'm in the center of the state. Hurricanes still come through here though, but usually they weaken a little bit before they make their way through here. It does dump a lot of water though, and I get a lot of flooding, and depending on the crop, some survive and some don't. Like if I plant tomatoes in the ground in the fall time during hurricane season, they will all die. They will all die because the ground stays wet for so long. They all die for sure. So I've adjusted by planting my tomatoes in grow bags. If I plant some during the fall, it's in a grow bag. So if I get hit by a hurricane, they will the soil dries out and they don't die. But yeah, I definitely hate the hurricanes. I know I say it in a funny way. I don't know why. Everyone says I say it weird. I say a lot of words weird, and I think it's because my family's from the Dominican Republic, so like I picked up how they pronounce stuff, so sorry. But I'm first generation born here though. Maybe no excuse because I'm American, right? I'm born here, so my first language was English, but whatever. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it quits for today. I hope you all learned a lot, and have a wonderful onion and garlic season. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, and I'll see you guys next time in the next garden class. Bye. Have a good rest of your day.